Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, and I'm making professional trading simple. And I watched about the first, maybe half an hour of the day, realized this is going nowhere, and took off for the day. Did not have a student this morning. She was unavailable for the morning, so decided to take the day off, enjoy that while I could. A beautiful 85 degrees here today. Perfect day to be wandering around outside, and that's exactly what I did. So sorry this video is out late, but it is Friday. Figured you'd have all weekend to watch it. We've got the Sunday one coming up as well. And I noticed that today moved, a total of, on the S&P, 6 points? 5 points? I didn't miss nothing. So here we are. Let's take a really quick look at the markets today and what we did during the week and get ready for next week. And this action that we're seeing here is actually, surprisingly enough, somewhat bearish. Now, obviously, my have to be neutral to bullish. We are still in an uptrend, and I will show you on the daily chart why I need to remain also bullish as well. But this action on the 60-minute is giving me more of a bearish read than anything else. So let's go ahead and jump ahead. You can see here that on the NDX we have been bouncing in this channel. I really thought this was bearish. Usually when it holds this, eventually it falls through and ends up moving to the downside. This one did not. Had a major move up with all of the volatility in the market, and almost tried to pop its head out towards the top here and just did not have the steam to do it. It then fell, found the bottom channel line, and that also happens to be the 20-period moving average on the 60-minute chart. So anyway, we will keep that in mind as we move into next week. I will do more on this weekend when I've had a really good chance. I was out of the markets all day, so I really don't, there wasn't much to get a feel of. We moved, 6 points or whatever, as I said. So not much to get a feel of, so to say, in the markets, but I really want to take a better look at it. We'll talk about it on the Sunday video. NDX on a weekly, this is something of interest, though. You'll notice here that we did end up closing above the 20-period moving average on the weekly, and that was something we were watching. Now the Qs had done it last week. This was right up to it. This, I got to admit, I'm really kind of surprised. We hit the 200-period moving average here. Nothing. No pullback. No stall there for a couple days or a couple weeks. Nothing. Just push right through. So showing a lot of bullish sentiment in the markets. Now, on a week status, I want you to see that the volume was greater, but I want you to also keep in mind that last week was a shortened week. So who knows where the volume would have been last week? We don't really know. I'm not putting a lot of emphasis necessarily on the volume side of things this week, only because last week was a shortened week, and who knows where we would have ended up. This could have been equal. But anyway, the close above is certainly something to definitely pay more attention to. On the SPX here, I drew in this previous channel that we were watching. The channel was this dotted line along with the dark blue line. Then, during the week, the channel changed to more of a rising wedge, and you can see where we broke the rising wedge here. And now we've slowly started to move our way back up again. This is actually more of a bear flag than anything. So on the 60-minute, this is looking more bearish than bullish right now. Next week, we'll be watching for a fall through, and there's talk about the dollar maybe is going to strengthen, so it might flatten out and find some support. If it does, the markets will move down. So we're looking for the dollar maybe to move up next week. There's other mitigating factors coming into it. The simple fact that we're up 10 days in a row, is that all? Might, play a part in a pullback next week. But we're watching really for a break below this 20-period moving average and ultimately below the 1060 mark. And then at that point, yeah, I think we have a case to be a little bit more bearish, at least in the short term. On the daily, though, you can see that we got what I had been wondering about, and that was first a break above the upper trend line. Second, will we close above the upper trend line for confirmation? We have gotten 2 candles closing above the trend line, this upper trend line here. Now we do look bearish on the 60-minute, and that might mean that maybe we just pull back to the top of this trend line and pause there. Obviously, next week will tell us. However, if we do manage to fall down into this area, especially breaking maybe the 1050 area, that would solidly put us back into the channel and probably on a crash course for the 20-day moving average eventually, if we can get below that 1050 mark next week. So need a lot of help, but I am starting to see some things that have been falling precipitously look to be a little bit more on the bullish side, which would be things like SRS and maybe FAS. Otherwise, some of the indices and FAS and whatnot looking a little bit more on the bearish side short term. So we will wait to see what brings what we get early next week, and I'll talk more about that this weekend. The weekly also brought us up to this previous trend line I was telling you about. Notice how this was something I was watching to see if we would break that this week. We did not. So once again, closing right at a resistance point, showing that TA really works in these environments. Right up to a resistance point, stops, pauses. That was it for the week. But on very, very good volume. This is really good volume to see it push up here. Nothing's been able to stop this train yet. No reason to think that maybe a few weeks down the road, we might not break this upper trend line. Certainly be watching that. VIX on a daily. This did turn out to be more of a bear flag. Broke below it. Now we're kind of in a double bottom situation, which puts the weekly still in a sideways consolidation. Looking really for a break below the 200 period moving average to really get uber bearish on the VIX. Otherwise, a move up. We still got to get above the 30 area. I like to do TA on the VIX. Don't know how sold I am on how accurate it is, but kind of fun to do. You can see we are in a falling wedge, and now we've kind of moved out of it more by time than by price. We'll continue to watch it. AFFY at the beginning of the week I mentioned would be a really good short, or watch for a breakout of this triangle. We got a break down out of the triangle, and my first target was the 200 period moving average, which is exactly where we hit first. Then it was this, and then below that I thought it'd be a really good short. We never obviously broke below that, but this 200 would have been a really good first target for you. To the upside, you know what? I'm really not even interested in anything that happened on AFFY to the upside. If we look at it here, I love the play to the downside because it came right back into the 20-day moving average. The move up, probably not playing it. It's right in the middle of a channel. It's just too... We didn't know what the markets were going to do during the course of a week, so I would not have played it to the upside, but it was a good play to the downside, and you could have added a little bit to your account there. ARO, we were looking at this one, and we did see it in a nice channel. Notice how it really hung nicely to the 20. So no reason to think that we won't find a little bit more support at the 20. That'll be the first thing that it needs to break to get bearish on Arrow. But right now, no reason to stop thinking that it can't continue to stay in this uptrend. Very overbought at this point up here, and you can see the big black hanging man, for lack of a better word, candle sitting right up here at the top of a very big move up. These type of candles at the end of these type of moves definitely get my attention. Now we did break out and over this upper trend line. But we are watching to see if this thing actually gives us a pullback. However, during the course of the week, I said buying this area would be a very good move to short. It would be a very defensible short, and as soon as it flips over, you might want to reverse your position, get long. If you did, you were able to squeeze probably a whole whopping 50 cents out of ARO. Not a lot in that. Cub, from the beginning of the week, the 60-minute was showing me a rising wedge, but the daily is really what I was watching. And I really defaulted to the daily. I said a break over the 50 was a good entry. I said a break over here gave you a new entry here, and this was last week. Now we got this pullback. I said I love this pullback coming right back into support with the rising 50. Sure enough, once we got a move back above this area, it was another good entry, and even above the 40 was another good entry. So you guys, at any one of these points, could have made some pretty good money on this one this week. So that was definitely a winner for the week. DV, let's take a look at that. You can see how it broke out of that triangle. I was really watching this one more to go to the downside, though. If the markets moved down, there was just so much overhead resistance. I wasn't going to play it to the upside. Would have been a good play to the upside. Wasn't for me. Really wasn't for me. So this one was more neutral to flat for the week. FAS was a great play. I mentioned here that the head and shoulders that we were looking at just seemed way too obvious, and this was even a week or two ago. But we got this move right up here. A break of the 20 I said might be a good short. Otherwise, you want to catch it above the $75 level, and especially above the $80 level. I thought would be a really great play. If you took it above the $80 level and held it, great play. That was, it's really a very easy defensible long position above this 80 mark that I have here. That would have netted you about $7 on FAS. And look at the nice high base we are now putting in FAS. 2 daily candles hanging right at the top. They haven't moved from the high price. We'll be watching this one closely maybe again next week, but good profits this week if you took it. FAZ, no reason to be going long on this. We would need a good push up and over the $20.50 mark, which I've been talking about for a little while. That might get me somewhat interested to play it up to the 50 period moving average. We'll be watching that one as well next